Hi everybody, my name is Sheldon Fetty. I'm an alcoholic. I came in the room this morning and there was an energy in here that you don't feel at places where there aren't people that are full of enthusiasm for Alcoholics Anonymous. It is great to be in a room full of the doers in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's my privilege and my honor to be able to come here and share my experience, strength, and hope with you guys. I was not born, I'll tell you, I'm from a city called Leeds in the north of England, about 200 miles north of London. And I was not born to alcoholic parents. If coming from an alcoholic family somehow gives you a prerequisite in Alcoholics Anonymous, I failed there. My parents were very average folk. Neither of them were heavy drinkers. But my dad left when I was very young. I was 2 years old when my dad left. And if you'd have asked me when I got here, I would have told you that my dad leaving was the reason that I was a drunk. When he left, we moved from a very nice middle-class standard of living in a nice neighborhood. And when he left, we became we moved into Section 8 housing. We became a welfare family, and it was very, very difficult growing up. I learned in Alcoholics Anonymous since I got here that my childhood really wasn't that bad. There are people, maybe some in this room, maybe there are people in this room, and if there are, I don't mean to minimize your pain or suffering, but there are people that are not alcoholic, that grew up in homes that were horrible compared to my childhood. You know, they were beaten and they were starved and they were locked in closets and abused physically and mentally and emotionally. The worst thing that happened in my childhood, the worst thing about it, was that it happened to me. And I don't know about you, but somehow when things happen to me, they're always a lot worse than when they happen to you. My wife, and I have a beautiful wife, and maybe I'll talk a little about her this morning, I'm not sure, but she's a beautiful member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I met her here in the rooms, and we're best friends. And I'm talking to her when we first meet about her childhood, and she had the kind of childhood that I only wished and dreamed that I could have had. I mean, the parents were married years and years after she left home. They had boats and private planes, and they lived in Cape Cod, for crying out loud. I mean, it sounds like utopia. And she is every bit the alcoholic that I am. It kind of takes the whole thing that I hang my life on right off the hook. I remember my first drink. I don't know if that makes me an alcoholic or not. It's interesting. When I got up and walked over here, some of you thought to yourselves, there's a guy that likes Snickers bars, right? And you'd be right. You'd be right. I do. I don't remember my first one, right? It stands to reason that there was Snicker number one, doesn't it? Right? At some point, I tore that brown paper back and looked at that chocolate bar, and you know, the way the sun glistened, my hands probably got sweaty. I bit in that caramel, you know, and boom, I got the effect created by Snickers, but it didn't have quite the impression on me my first drink did, I'll tell you that. I was 9 years old. I was 9 years old when I had my first drink. I was with a kid called Barry. Barry was an older kid. He was 11. Which meant he was cool, right? Whatever Barry wanted to do, I would have done. Because I wanted to hang out with the cool older kids. He was slick. I'm glad what he wanted to do was drink, right? Or I might have had a whole different set of issues in my life. But right? But think about it, right? But thankfully what he wanted to do was drink, and we stood in front of a liquor store till some guy would go in and go get us a bottle of Old English apple cider. It's just apple juice with a kick, right? But this guy goes and gets us this bottle. We go behind this liquor store, and we crack that bottle open. He takes a big slug. I take a big slug. And what happened at that moment was going to happen most times I drank from then on. I puked out of my nose. Because I'm a nose puker. I mean, I just am. I'm not good at drinking. Some of you guys, you got stories that just... They blow me away. You guys, you drive better when you drink and you work better. Not me. I get 4 or 5 inside me and I hit on your wife and pee in your closet. That's the kind of, it's just the kind of drunk. I'm not very good at it. I'm just not. But it's not about what alcohol did to me, right? It's about what alcohol did for me. It's about what it did on the inside when I drank it. And I've heard people from the podium in Alcoholics Anonymous explain what happened to them when they drank it in many different ways, but it all comes down to a similar kind of deal. And here's the way I'll explain it. I mean, nothing really happened, right? But I'm a short, fat Jewish kid from the wrong side of the tracks, right? It feels like my parents get remarried, right? Nothing really, but it feels that way. It feels like I grow 6 inches. It feels like I lose 30 pounds. It feels like my foreskin grows back. I just want to make sure you're listening, that's all. Just so we're all on the same page of who's talking this morning, you know? So it just felt like all of a sudden, I didn't know I had a problem, but all of a sudden, it seemed like I found the solution. I got lit up and I went, wow, I'm going to do this. 9 years old in a little wooded area behind a liquor store, I make a life decision. I'm going to do this as much as I can, as often as I can, for the rest of my life. And when you live in my mom's home in that small town in the north of England, that means I probably drank twice more that year. And when I was 11, I probably drank 3 times, and 13 a half. But by the time I was 14, 15 years old, I was putting anything inside of me I could to change the way that I felt whenever I could, because I just had to get lit up. And in my story, it turns out, although I'm an alcoholic and the only disease I have is alcoholism, turns out there are a few drugs. And I'm not going to talk a lot about that, but I'm going to tell you my experience, my strength and my hope, but I'm not going to lie from the podium of Alcoholics Anonymous and pretend that didn't happen. At 13, 14 years old, Chewy don't card. They don't ask you for your ID, and off I went on a journey of putting everything and anything inside of me that I could. And I loved it. I don't know about you, but boy, I loved it. I heard someone one time, maybe you've heard this, from the podium of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a misquote out of the book. Something like this in the book. Doesn't really say this, and they misquote. And it just made me, they said that their worst day in Alcoholics Anonymous was better than their best day drinking. And I'm wondering, what were you drinking? Right? Because when I'm drinking, I'm just, I mean, if it didn't do that, right, I wouldn't have chased it till I found you. I mean, you're nice people, right? But you ain't that nice, right? I mean, holy mackerel. I remember, my mind works in pictures. I remember like a certain event here and a certain event there, and normally it's called the parts in between blackouts, but I remember a certain part here, a certain part. I remember one time, and I'm probably 17, 18 years old, and I'm at the Grateful Dead show at Shoreline Amphitheater, and if you've ever been to Shoreline Amphitheater, it's a very steep amphitheater, and I'm at the very back, and I'm probably on 3 hits of window pane and who knows what else, and the band's playing, and it's this foggy, misty, murky morning, afternoon. I mean, the lightning's going on, but there's no rain. Jerry screams, "It looks like rain!" And the band starts to play, and I have a spiritual experience, the likes of which no 12-step call has ever created inside of me. I mean, bang, right? I'm on fire and in love with the universe, and if it still did that for me, I'd still be running. And I don't know when it happened. It's like the cruelest joke ever in my life. I don't know when it happened. But I'm 24, 25 years old. I'll tell you, I quit any time I want to. I just don't want to, right? I ain't hurting nobody but me. I remember, I'm such a goof. I'm in my dad's driveway. I've stolen from him again, and he's caught me again, and we're in the driveway because I'm not allowed in the house again, and I'm lit up again, right? And he says to me, he says, and he's crying, right? I'm his baby boy. I'm the youngest of his kids. He's got 2 sons. I'm the youngest one. He's got tears rolling down his face, and he says to me, "Do you hate me so much that you got to drink that crap and smoke that crap before you come and see me. I tell him, it ain't you, Dad. I drink that crap and smoke that crap before I brush my teeth. I get in my car, I drive away, and this thought runs through my head. What's the matter with him? I ain't hurting nobody but me. And he stood in the driveway crying. And I ain't hurting nobody but me. I can't see it. I don't know what my life is doing to people. And I'll quit whenever I want to. I just don't want to. I get to 26 years old, and all of a sudden, I want to. I grew up in a family that worked at the exhibition shows and fairs. I was a Ginsu knife worker. Oh, really? But wait. Wait, there's more. Somehow I got very, very lucky, and I ended up on QVC and Home Shopping Network, and I'm 22 years old, and I'm running hard, you know, and I got all this stuff going on, and I'm like, Bill, I have arrived, for crying out loud, right? And I'm running hard, and the next thing you know, I lose that job, and when they let me go, they said, but they're liars, they said they let me go because they didn't want a crack addict for their national spokesperson. I knew the truth. It was because they didn't like Jews. I get another good job, and they fire me. When they fired me, they said, we have to let you go because you make the secretaries cry. I'm not a secretaries cry kind of guy. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm kind of cuddly and cute, for crying out loud. I don't make people cry. What are you, nuts, right? But they told me that I couldn't drink at work. They told me you cannot come into work lit up, which I liked the job, so I figured I'd try it, right? So I'm not going to go to work. I'm that guy out of the book. I'm restless, irritable, and discontented when I'm not drinking. And I'm not talking about weeks not drinking. I'm talking about till 5, right? But I'm at work and I'm just wound up and I'm uptight, and I just snap at people and I'm crying. I don't know nothing's wrong. I'm fine. It's would you just do your job? What's wrong with you? Could you listen to me, for God's sake, right? And say, fire me for making the secretaries cry. I knew that wasn't true. They didn't like fat people. Must have been what it was, you know. I wind up from the spokesperson for a major corporation on QVC to a homeless guy in a detox facility, and I don't know how that happened. And I knew that my life was, you get to where you can see it. I'm thrown out of my dad's house one more time, and I can't, because I went back to live there again, because that's what I do, you know. It's where all tough guys end up, right? Mom and dad's house, right? That's how tough we are. But anyway, so now I go to this detox, and I end up in this halfway house, and I don't want to live like this no more. I get it. You know, they've been telling me all my life that I'm the kid with the potential, right? Anybody hear that, right? You got all this potential, you know, but somehow I spilled it in bar rooms, back alleys, and crack house floors is what I must have done with it, because I got nothing left. I can't look myself in the eye. I can't hold my head up. I can't hold a job. I got no friends left. My dad, when he talks to me, he's always got that look in his eye like I'm kind of disgusting to him, you know, and I don't want to live like this no more, and I want to change. So I end up going to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm 26 years old, and I'm sitting in the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I think I want to quit. I don't know what I want to do, but living the way I'm living isn't working real good for me. And some guy comes up to me, and I'm frustrated, and I'm hungover, and I'm in a halfway house, and he says to me, do you want to get sober? And I'm thinking, I don't know. No, I don't know. No. I got nothing in my life. I've destroyed everybody and everything. I've got no good relationships, no friendly place to turn. There's nothing in my life to live for. I got no hope, no dreams, no goals. I think I'm a piece of crap. I think you think I'm a piece of crap, and I think we're both right on the money. Right? I got no future, no hope, nothing to live for or look forward to. The only thing in my life that is good is that when I go out on a run, not every time, but sometimes I get a little freedom. Sometimes, not every time anymore. It used to be no miss, but now sometimes when I start to drink, I get the butterflies in my stomach, and I get the freedom, and I start to think that, and I get lit up, and it's all I got left. Most of the time, all I got is the anticipation of the run. Right before the humiliation, the embarrassment, the bad behavior, I love that line in the book, the disgusting dangerous and disgusting antisocial behavior. I'm not very dangerous, but I can be really disgusting, right? So the only thing I got left is this anticipation of a drug. I don't want to. No, that's not what I said. Because I needed help. I go, yeah. I'm thinking I want a hamburger, a pack of cigarettes, or something. So I'm gonna lie to the guy, you know. He says, "You're willing to go to any lengths to get?" I don't even know what that means. Am I willing to go? No. Go away. Go away. If I start going to 90 meetings in 90 days and stacking chairs and doing all the stuff that they tell me to do, and I'm in the meeting and I'm trying not to drink, and I'm just not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. I'm just not going to drink. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do it. I am not going to drink. There's no way. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. No. It's been 3 minutes. I'm not going to drink. All right? Absolutely not. No drinking. Not drinking. No, 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 no. The problem with that is that in every barrel of no's, there's a yes. No, 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 no. Yes. Ah. I did it again. I don't know why, but I did it again. I come back to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to drink. Drinking destroys my life. You can be me early on and think drinking's not the problem, but you can't be me towards the end and with a straight face tell anybody drinking's not the problem. My life is this pattern of bad decisions, broken promises, ruined opportunities, things I've stolen, people I've hurt, stuff I've destroyed behind drinking and doing drugs. You can't imagine for a minute that's not the problem, so I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to do it. I know it's the problem. I did it again. I don't know why, but I did it again. I don't know why I did it again. I did it again. I'm not going to drink. I'm going to come back to the rooms. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to drink. Somebody says to me, I said, it makes me nuts, this not drinking thing. Because I'm not drinking and all I'm doing is thinking about not drinking, which means I'm thinking about drinking, which gets me very, very confused. No wonder I'm restless, irritable, and discontent because I can't hear you. All I can think about is drinking. Right? Whether it's doing it or not doing it, it's all I'm thinking about. No wonder how are you doing? Fine, right? I'm fine. It's no wonder I'm nuts, right? I'm just this crazy person. And someone says to me, Sheldon, in AA, we don't drink 24 hours at a time. Just do it one day at a time. Now, if you're sober a bunch of years and you got some bad stuff going on, but you got a sponsor, you're working the steps, you're sponsoring guys, you're involved in prayer meditation, you've got some commitments, and you're actively involved in the entire package of Alcoholics Anonymous, one day at a time is something you can do. But when you're new, for me, maybe not you, but for me, it wasn't good news. Right? Here's what one day at a time sounded like in my head. 24 miserable hours. You can sit here while the clock goes tick, tick, tick. One day at a time. If you can't do it one day at a time, Sheldon, do it 1 hour at a time. 1 hour at a time. 60 miserable minutes, one after another. Count with me. 1, 2, 3. I'm in agony. I don't know what it feels like to be actively involved in Alcoholics Anonymous, having gotten some, forget relief. Who needs relief? Relief doesn't help me. I need freedom. And I don't know what freedom feels like. I think when you say you're sober 15 years, I think you're sober 15 years like this. I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to... And after 15 years, for God's sakes, you should be a lunatic. I don't know what you're... How? What is wrong with you people? I love that line in the book where it says that's the miracle of it. We've ceased fighting everything and everyone. And this has just happened. It just happens. That's the miracle of it. That doesn't just happen. You got to do a lot of work before it just happens. But I haven't drank all morning today without a lot of effort. I don't think about drinking on a daily basis. I don't think about not drinking on a daily basis. My alcoholism, as my good friend Scott Redmond used to say, is square business. It is above the horizon. It's real. But it's not something that I'm constantly thinking about whether or not I'm going to drink. The miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous is that you can stay sober one day at a time without a lot of effort if you do the work required. But I don't know that. So I drink. And I drink because I can't live like that. I can't. At some point, what happens to me is that the scales tip, and I know I'm going to lose everything. I know, I get it. I'm in. I know, it's all going to go. I know I'm probably going to have to go spend a couple nights in jail. I get it. I get it. But compared to living like this, it's worth it. And nobody around me can see that because now I'm 30 days sober and I got a job. And I'm in the halfway house, so I've got my own little apartment. My dad invited me over for Sunday dinner. My mom's taking my phone calls again. Right? To them, it looks like my life's getting better. To me, it just feels like it's the spring inside my gut is tightening and I can't. I gotta go. My sponsor says, and I love this, he talks about being in a building that to everybody else looks like a beautiful building. And why would you ever want to leap out of the window of that building? But what everybody else can't see is that the building's on fire. And I gotta leap out of the building in order to stay alive. And then I come back to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I don't know why we do this. I do this. You know, if you're new and I meet you at a meeting, I might say this to you. And I don't know why I would, because it's really not cool. But I guess I say this stuff to you because I don't know what else to say. I don't know how to invoke a miracle in somebody's life. So I might say to you, are you done yet? Am I done what? Exactly. Could you explain done? I mean, I'm dying here. I have a disease of alcoholism. I am driven by 100 forms of fear, 100 forms of resentment, 100 forms of self-pity. I have lost the ability to control my drinking. I have a disease called alcoholism. Am I done with I don't know, are you done with your cancer? What kind of question is that? What kind of question is, am I done yet? Have you had enough? Had enough of what? Had enough of you asking me riddle questions. Yes, I've had enough of this game, I'll tell you that. There will come a time in every man's life where he can't imagine life without alcohol. That happened to me at 9 years old behind a off-license to the bottle of Old English apple cider. There'll come a time in a man's life where he can now imagine life with or without alcohol. He'll be at the jumping off place, he will wish for the end. He'll be at the jumping off place where he'll be suicidally depressed, confused, and unable to answer the question of why the hell he does it again. That's how I came into Alcoholics Anonymous on July 17th of 1996. Unable to fathom what it would be like to drink again or what it would be like not to drink again. Unable to tell you if I'm done, if I've had enough, if I'm ready yet. I don't know what those words mean. All I know is that I got something inside of me that drives me back to the very thing I know is going to kill me, and I don't know how to stop, and I did it again. I did it again, and I did it again, and I don't know why. And if I had the nerve, and I don't have the nerve, and I'm glad I don't have the nerve, but if I had a set big enough, I'd have blown my own brains out. But on top of everything, after all of it, I don't have the nerve to do the right thing. I'm a coward as well. And that's what showed up on July 17th of 1996. A wore-out smudge of a man with nowhere to go and nowhere to turn. And they say that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and I walked into the same kind of club I've been walking into for years. And I said the same kind of crap I've been saying to people for years. And somehow I got scooped up by a group of people that just loved me and didn't care what I thought and just told me the way that it was. And they were the people I'd always stayed away from. They were the big book carrying, lights are on and nobody's home, 12-step call making, who's your sponsor, group of Alcoholics Anonymous. I sat at counters in clubs playing cribbage, judging them for years. Right? I mean, oh man, they said, get in the car. Sheldon, just get in the car. What's it? I don't want to hear what you used to be, who you were, what you're going to be, what your plan. Just shut up. Just get in the. They didn't really. You know what's funny? Is that that's how it felt, right? But really, they never told me to shut up. Really, they just loved me. They had this machine, right? That they would turn on. I'd catch them not listening. I'd ask them to say back stuff I'd said. They couldn't, right? But they'd Oh, really? And I'm just like a shotgun. I'm like trying to take a drink out of a fire hydrant, for God's sake. Well, I'll pick you up tomorrow night. You know, I mean, that's what they did for me, you know. And they'd ask me what I thought were kind of mean questions, like, who's your sponsor? can't answer difficult questions, right? I was at a meeting, it was a noon meeting at the Kiss Club, which was the club that I got sober at. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was just it's every club. You can't smoke in there, but there's nicotine-stained yellow walls, right? Like they buy the nicotine-stained yellow wall paint, for God's sakes. I'd like something nicotine yellow, please. Oh, AA club, huh? You know, it's just, it's every club that there's ever been. It's that club, and I'm sitting in that club, and it's a noon meeting, and I don't know what to do, because I know the truth, and the truth is this ain't the last time. I'm going to drink again. Why are you going to drink again? So I don't know why I'm going to drink again. I always drink again. It's what I do, isn't it? I mean, let's look at the record, for God's sakes, right? I don't know. It'll be another week, another 2 weeks. Well, I don't know. I'm going to drink again. I'm that guy. I'm Captain Perpetual Newcomer. If I could wear a T-shirt with what's on my mind, it would say, this time it's going to be different, right? And on the back, it would say, what are you going to do? And a big word say, nothing. You know, nothing I do will be different, but it feels different, you know. Oh, good for you, punky, you know. But that's the guy that I become. This guy starts to talk, and I gotta tell you, this guy has been my sponsor for a long, long time, ever since I got sober. And I know that I've heard people far more eloquent say the same stuff. He's not even that good, right? But he said, when he spoke, it went right in my heart. And what he said was, I used to feel like you feel, lonely, hopeless, frustrated, like the only answer for you lies in a bottle, and you know that don't work no more. Like there is no hope, like there is no future, like this is the best it could ever be. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to be empty and wore out inside, and to believe everything you've ever heard about you and know that they haven't said enough, because you are that guy. And to know you're going to drink again, and to know you're going to do it again, and to know you shouldn't be trusted, and to know that no one should love you, and to know that they're right. And he said it in a way where I knew that he didn't feel that way anymore. And it blew my mind. I'd never heard it before. It had been said in hundreds of meetings that I'd been at. I'd never heard it. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And he appeared. And I went up to him after the meeting, and I said, I need help. I don't know what I need. I need help. And he told me he was my sponsor. And anywhere, anytime the hand of AA reaches out, and I did, he was there. And we started going through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We started taking the steps out of the big book. He told me, he says, you know, those, he says, you're a drowning man. Right? I'm from Vegas. He said, like in Lake Mead, but maybe you're in the river. You're a drowning man. And you just went down for the third time. When do you want the life preserver? Now or when you feel better? We have to go on to the bitter end, blotting out our existence, or accept spiritual help. Bill says we know these are not always easy choices to take. Those of us that go to, and in a room like this, at roundups and get-togethers, there are always more doers than watchers. The doers go to roundups, right? The doers aren't the ones that are, the watchers don't get up and drive to Laughlin and go to a roundup. We got doers in the room. I go to detox, and I go to jails, and I go to halfway houses, and we propose this question, all right? Do you want to keep doing what you're doing, living like you live and get what you get, or do you want to try some spiritual principles in your life that will turn your life around? I've done it for me. Then people look at you and go, I don't know. Tell me more about the alcoholic death. I don't know. Well, it doesn't sound, it doesn't sound that bad, you know? So he said that to me, and I said, give me the life preserver. Give me the life preserver. And off I went into a journey of Alcoholics Anonymous through the steps out of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I believe in my heart and in my soul that I did not know the words to describe step one. I learned them from you, but I took step one out in the big world. Out in the big world, I knew my life was that I couldn't drink, and that I was powerless over alcohol, and that my life would become unmanageable. I knew that. I knew that. I knew from my experience out in the big world that no human aid could restore me to sanity. I mean, I knew that. I didn't know the words. He hadn't given me the words yet. We did step 2. I'm this Jewish kid, right? But I got to tell you the whole story about, because we're not really Jews. We're atheist Jews, which is a special sect of Judaism. It's where we know we're wrong, but we're certain you're more wrong, which leaves you very trapped, and it's very different, right? My mom tells me that religion is the opiate of the masses. You know, if I'm going to do opium, I'm going to do the real stuff, for God's sakes. Right? What, are you kidding me? You know, So I can't do my faith. I'm lost with I can't do your faith because of the way that I'm raised. You know, imagine for a minute, and this is such an important idea. Imagine for a minute that you, through the course of your life, before you got sober, had found yourself in a Muslim country. And everybody in the room is saying, you got to find God as you understand Him. And you think that you know that they mean a Muslim faith. It's very difficult to hear about God from people that you know in their heart who you think they're talking about. And I think I know who you're talking about. And I can't buy into your deal. I can't buy into that. I mean, first of all, my ancestors killed him, right? I mean, I'm in a lot of trouble to begin with, right? But seriously, I can't, and I'm lost. And my sponsor says, just get off the debating team. Just get off the debating team. There is a God, you're not Him, can we move on? All right? I heard this beautiful thing, another good friend, another one of my heroes in Alcoholics Anonymous that has passed, but Clint always used to say, and I love this when he said this, he would say that imagine that you're stood on the end of a cliff, and your problems of your life are charging at you. It's all coming at you. And you're on the edge of a cliff and you can't see down. There's clouds, but you can't see what's down there. And some voice from AA says, jump. God will catch you. And I'm thinking, you lost your mind. But it's still coming, right? They're still charging at me. Eventually, you got to leap and say, I hope those idiots in AA are right. And that's how I took step 2. I did not turn towards God. I turned away from everything I knew that wouldn't work and hoped God would be there. And, how do you talk about? How do you have an experience like we've had in Alcoholics Anonymous? How do you have a first step experience and then try to explain what happens when God enters your life? I can't do that, other than to tell you that, yeah, right? I mean, wow, right? But He doesn't come in step 2. I wish He did. They told me to say the prayer. I don't find God in the prayer in step 3 either. I don't think you're supposed to. You ask anybody in Alcoholics Anonymous, ask me, I'll tell you. I'm sober today by the grace of God. Sober today because I found a power greater than myself that enables me to stay sober one day at a time. Right? Now, if I'd have found God in step 3, seriously, why the hell would I do step 4? All right? I mean, why would you? 5? I'm going to tell some knucklehead about my life? You're kidding. 6 and 7, I don't understand. 8, you don't write nothing down. Ever. 10, 9, pay him back? Get out of town. 10 and 11 make no sense to me. I'm not helping nobody, unless you're paying me. So why would I do step 4 if I could find God in step 3? I can't find God in step 3. In fact, in step 12, it says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. And I don't mean to make anybody frustrated, but I don't believe you can have the type of spiritual awakening that we have in Alcoholics Anonymous as a result of 12 steps you haven't took. I don't know how you do it. Somebody's thinking, Bill Wilson did. Read page 13. No, he didn't. Bill Wilson went through the steps, then had a white light experience. If that's news to you, I mean, gosh, read it. You'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind. Bill Wilson does, on page 13 of his story, he goes through the process of Alcoholics Anonymous with a man called Ebby Thatcher. Then after Ebby leaves, He has a white light experience, and the clean wind blows through and through. I love that part of the book. Happens the same way it happened to me. Same way it happens to everybody. We got to do the steps. We got to do the work. So we get to my fourth step, and my fourth step was like everybody's. I thought I was so special and unique. I did. You know, we could write the first few names on the list for you, right? We don't, because we want to watch you struggle, right? It's fun for us. I'm riding out here with a friend of mine, and we're talking, and he says, "You enjoying this?" I says, "Oh, this is beautiful, right?" I mean, we love that stuff. It stops me thinking about me, so I make you do the work, right? But it's mom, dad, right, brother, right, current spouse, previous spouse, current employer, previous employer, that it trickles down to everybody that's had any pathetic or insignificant effect on my life ever. They're all on the list, right? I write them down. I got my dad, my mom, my brother. I get to my sponsor's house, and we're going to do this thing together. I grew up in a sponsorship line that says, look, we're going to start the 4-step alone, and we're going to finish the 4-step together in the step 5 environment, and that's the way that I did the work with my sponsor. And we get there, and I got my dad on the list, you know, and I hate my dad. My dad left when I was 2 years old. Had my dad not left, my life would have been different. I hate my dad. And we start talking about my dad, and my sponsor's a good sponsor. If you don't think you have a great sponsor, start taking direction. You might change your mind, right? But because if you just switch sponsors, you'll hate him too. You'll be a sponsor hopper. Right? I've had 94 sponsors in AA, never done a step. But anyway, right? So start taking some direction. But anyway, right? So he says to me, he brings it all out, you know. Well, Sheldon, you know, your dad did the best for you that he could with the tools that he had. And I'm thinking, get new tools. All right? I was 2 years old when he left. And when he left, he ruined my life, and I hate him. I wasn't budging off of that with my dad. And we started talking about my mom, and my mom is an active member of Al-Anon. I love my mom. I could tell you about my childhood from my new perspective, not from my old one. My new perspective was, I never even knew we were Paul. I never even knew. She made sure I had everything. We grew up in a nice neighborhood. All her friends, I moved to the bad neighborhood when I was a baby. She moved there as an adult. All of her friends were from the good neighborhood. She went back to that neighborhood and cleaned their houses to put food on our table, right? And I don't appreciate that, right? I think she's a bad woman. I mean, I've got a whole new perspective in Alcoholics Anonymous of what my mom did and sacrificed and how she humbled herself to raise us kids. And she's a beautiful woman. But at the time, I'm newly sober, and I got my mom on that. Why is your mom on that? Well, she screams and yells a lot. She's kind of a lunatic. You never know when you go home if she's going to be in a good mood or a bad mood. It's terrible. I don't know what to say to her. Blah, blah, blah. So he says, we get out the book, and he says, this was our cost. The people that offended us were perhaps spiritually sick. He says, you know, your mom, you told me your mom in later life became a member of Al-Anon. I said, she did. And he says, you know, did she ever have any therapy or anything like that? Turns out my mom was a manic depressive. My mom's not like us. She took the pills for 13 weeks and then got off them because she doesn't have a phenomenon of craving. I'll get off the soapbox. Anyway, she took some pills for a little while. She got her head straight. She got squared away. She sorted herself out. But she was a sick person. She had a disease, a spiritual disease. We have no monopoly on that. There was stuff going on inside of my mom that drove her to behave ways that she did. I didn't like their symptoms or the way they disturbed us. Perhaps they, like ourselves, were sick too. And my mom had a sickness like me. Now, I tell you, I am not a bad guy trying to get good, right? I'm a sick guy trying to get well. I did some things in my life driven by 100 forms of fear, self-pity, and self-delusion that I'm not proud of, and they hurt people, but I was driven. I have a disease. I want a little bit of forgiveness, not a lot, but a little bit of forgiveness, because some of the stuff that I did under the lashes of alcoholism, and I don't believe that I'm guilty for all that stuff. We have a responsibility step, and I am responsible. I will clean it all up, but I don't believe that I'm guilty for all of it. But if I want to get a little bit of forgiveness, I better be willing to give it, right? That's the price you pay for forgiveness. Forgive us our trespasses as, At the same time that we forgive those that trespass against us. You have to be willing to give the forgiveness if you're going to get it. And he starts explaining all this stuff to me, and we start looking at my mom as this woman that, I'd catch her crying because of the way she treated us kids and so depressed about it. And then the next day she'd scream and yell at us. She didn't like the way that she was. She was driven in the same way that I was driven. Though I didn't like her symptoms and the way they disturbed us, she, like me, was sick. And I had to let her off the hook. Though I didn't like her symptoms and the way, most important, powerful part of the big book, I think, where the 180-degree turn begins and ends in step 9. But I start to see my mom for who she was. She's this frightened young girl that's been left with 2 kids by this guy. And she's already got this propensity to anger and frustration and panic. She's got this disorder also. And she can't help it, and she beats herself up for it. And I get it. Now, I don't immediately forgive my mom, but I start to get a little bit of understanding. It is better to understand than be understood, it says in the 12 and 12. St. Francis gave us that, and he's right. I get a little understanding, and slowly the wall starts to come down. And over years with my mom and through this work, me and my mom today are very close. When she retired, or her husband retired in Chicago, she could have gone anywhere she wanted in the world. She went to Las Vegas to be near me and her grandson. That's bullshit. She came to be near her grandson, but I didn't get in the way, right? And aren't we capable of getting in the way, right? I didn't get in the way, right? So then I start to see this with my mom. Then he says, "What about your dad?" "What about my dad? I told you I hate my dad." He says, "Well, what was it like for your dad with your mom?" Let's look at that story. Did your mom develop this propensity to frustration and anger when your dad left? Or do you think she always had it? Well, I don't think people change that much. People change. Look at us. We change. But I don't think people change that much. And I tell you, I don't know. You don't know. I thought you knew. I don't know. Oh, you've been acting like you know. I don't know. I don't know. Is it possible that your mom married and met your dad at a time in the north of England, in a small Jewish community, not long after the Second World War, where they were afraid of the community and of being alone, and they got married quickly? Is it possible? It's possible. Is it possible that your dad then went away because he had to serve mandatory time in the military in England at that time, and they didn't really know each other, and he gets back home from serving his time in the military, and she gets pregnant with your older brother? Is it possible all that happened fast? I don't know where you're going with this, but okay. Is it possible that by the time he figured out that she was this difficult person to live with, and he would have been better off not being with her, he was already married with a kid? Is it possible he found himself trapped? Is it possible things happened at that time, in that place, that way? I don't like this, but okay. All right. Is it possible that he would have left when he could have, when he was about 2 years old, and he just sent her money and provided it with money, but she would have been able to take care of him on his own, but she got pregnant with you? Okay? Is it possible that he stayed as long as he could stay till he couldn't stay no more, and then he had to go, and when he left, he didn't leave and live next door where he would have had to defend his dignity by talking publicly about her struggles, but he left and he went first to London and then to California? Is it possible that he was driven to his behavior? Is it possible? Yeah. 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 What would you have done if you were him, Sheldon? It's not a fair question, because it's just I get this life built around this resentment. You can't do this to me. What would I have done? Let me tell you what I'd have done. When I was 16 years old, I went down to the government and I became an emancipated adult because I wouldn't live with that psycho for another minute. I got on welfare, and then as soon as I could, when I got a hold of my father and explained what misery I was in, I had him fly me to California to get away from her. What would I have done? The minute she said, "I'm pregnant," I'd have said, "I'm leaving." That's what I'd have done. What are you, nuts? And I'd have stayed in town and made sure everybody knew it was her fault. What would I have done? My dad's not that bad of a guy, I guess. Now, I don't know if any of that's true, but it's possible. It's possible. If it's possible that I was wrong about that, what else is it possible I'm wrong about? What other petty judgment on my false step might I be wrong about? What other thing that I rant at my sponsor about, how they're treating me wrong and doing me wrong and messing with me and out to get me, and if only they understood? What other petty thing that pales in comparison to the judgments I had about my father and the divorce could I be wrong about? Why do I so insist on being right? We finished my fourth step, my fifth step. Step 6 is the journey of my sobriety. What is our path? What is this thing? You know, those of us that aren't brand new, those of us that have been around a little bit, what is our path? What are spiritual principles? When do they come into play? I've learned that my spiritual principles only exist when you stop behaving. If you're doing what I want you to do, I don't have any spiritual principles. It's when you start to behave in ways I disapprove. Then you will know whether or not I have spiritual principles. Do I behave kind, loving, and tolerant? Am I quick to forgive? I love this. You know, I got a lot. I got so many heroes in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've learned this. I've learned this about myself, and so I've learned this about them. My heroes in Alcoholics Anonymous have one thing in common with me, right? We have a very clever, pretty way of stringing words together and sounding good from a podium. It's not that we have better programs than anybody. Trust me, there are people out that are watching me right now that are way better members of Alcoholics Anonymous than I am. My gift is that I can string words together. It's where it begins, it's where it ends, and there's nothing, nothing else to it, right? But I'm telling you that I hear Sandy Beach say this stuff, and it blows me away. He says that the thing that we have to do if we're going to have spiritual principles is we have to figure out very quickly who's wrong. Who's wrong? So, listen, in this world, I'm not always wrong. Sometimes you might be wrong. And if you're wrong, I have to forgive quickly. Who's wrong, me or you? You, I forgive quickly. Spiritual principles. Forgive quickly. I'm wrong. Apologize fast. Spiritual principles. Do I forgive quickly and apologize fast? That's the question, isn't it? That's what spiritual... No one among us, no one, not me, not you, not your sponsor, not even Bill Wilson when he was alive, God bless him, right? No one among us maintains anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We're not saints, but when we figure out we're wrong, do we apologize quickly, right? If ever I stop being wrong, I tell the guys I work with, if I can go 30 days without a mistake, then I'm going to start crucifying you for the mistakes you make, right? I'm at about 16 days. I'm doing pretty good, right? I mean, I'm all right. I go 16 days. And you know why 16 days? Because I minimize the small mistakes, right? Really, it's more like probably half a day if I'm lucky, right? But no one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We're not saints, but we do claim spiritual progress. We do claim that. I'm telling you, I'm better today than I was the day I got sober. I'm growing and I'm learning, I'm trying and I'm failing. And I'm getting back up and I'm trying again. And in step 6, I try to turn over these things that are making me nuts that I can't. Why do I need God if all of a sudden I'm great? Right? I ever get so wonderful I don't need God anymore? I'm in more trouble than I ever been in my life, right? I fail a lot. I pick myself up. I dust myself off. I move forward. I wish my mistakes. Sometimes you get guys from the podium say, you know, when I was 3 years sober, I used to make mistakes. Last night, I was at I couldn't be here all weekend with you guys because I had some prior obligations before I was invited out here from work, and we're at this event that I had to be at, and I got all the guys that work for me, and I have to grab the lowest level employees. Not the middle managers, but the lowest level guys, my entry level guys. I have to grab them, take them outside, put them in a huddle, and say, you know what? It was pointed out to me that I've been behaving badly the last 10 days. And I'm out of line. And I want you to know I'm out of line. I want you to know I'm sorry. And that's last night. All right? These guys looked at me like they never worked for a guy in AA before. Right? They thought we were having a meeting where I was going to straighten them out. I could see the look in their face. I love that about AA, right? Because you get to see, if you're doing this thing, if you're trying to live this way, when you clean up your mess, people, can I have a moment of your time? And they get on the muscle. Because they think it's the rest of the argument, right? And you go, listen, I'm sorry. I did it again. I'm still doing it again, right? I'm still doing it again. I get to be about 8 or 9 years sober, and I'm real active in step 10, and I'm paying my amends. I'm sponsoring a lot of guys. I'm doing a good job. I don't know how, somewhere along the line, I forgot what step 11 is. I don't know how I did that, but I forgot to do step 11. At this point in my sobriety, I am being invited around the country to different places to do step studies and workshop weekends. And I've got an 11-step program. I get to step 11 in these weekends, and I kind of brush over it, and I can't talk about it because I really don't know what it means, and I don't know what it is. I'm one of these guys that believes that step 11 is when that step 10 is when we retire at night. I don't even know that that's part of step 11. I don't know what step 11 is. Here's what I think step 11 is. I've heard the word meditation. So I think step 11 is I need a pretty room, probably with white lace curtains, right? Soft light, incense, candle, 30 minutes, Indian flute music, lotus position. I gotta learn some Anama Yohorenge Kyo or something, right? So I think it is. That stuff's beautiful, and if you got that room, I dig it, man. I'm not poking at anybody, just having a little fun, but I think that's what it means. And when I get out of bed in the morning, I'm usually late before the alarm goes off, right? I don't have time for that. That's not how my life is set up. I can't behave that way. Can you imagine? I mean, you're getting a little taste of me, right? I'm a little wound up guy, right? Can you imagine me trying to sit quietly, for God's sakes? It's not fun, right? I mean, right? I mean, I'm a nut, right? And I won't do it. I don't have time for it. It's not exciting to me. I ain't doing it. I go to work. I cause problems. I make amends. I'm okay for a little while. I do the same mistake again. I cause problems. Gets to the point where my boss, who is not in the program, I go knock on his door. He gets that look in his face. Oh, took you a little longer this time to show up. Come on in and tell me how I'm right and you're wrong. This will be fun. I'm starting to enjoy this, right? It just sucks. Again, I got to go do it again. I got to make amends again, and I don't know why I got to do it again. My spouse says, "What are you doing about step 11?" I go, "Oh, I'm not going to have the white room." Blah, blah. He says, "Let's go and look at what it says in the book. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We believe we could be vague about this matter, and then we choose not to. So we got when we retire at night and upon awakening, and it takes 3 to 5 minutes at night for me to review my day and see where I've been wrong. And in the morning, I wake up and I ask God for 3 things. I just ask God for 3 things. I just ask Him, God, divorce my thinking. All right? Some of you know what you asked, and some of you don't. And if you don't, gosh, grab a book. It's in there. Right? But I ask God to divorce my thinking of selfish, self-pity, and dishonest motives. Now, think about this. If I could go about my day, and I can't do it, but if I could go about my day without being selfish, dishonest, and self-seeking, I wouldn't have to do no 10th step. All right? I wouldn't have to make no amends. Because what am I making amends for? The way that I react to self-centered fear. Self-centered fear is the thing that drives me, and it still drives me. It catches me off guard, and I behave badly, and I did it again. So in the morning, I ask God to help me with those things, and I'd say it's changed my life. It has changed my sobriety. The last 5-6 years, I've been, not every day. It's so hard. It's so hard. You know, the book says we let God discipline us in this way. We're undisciplined. I won't stand at the podium of Alcoholics Anonymous and tell you that I do that perfectly. I do not. But most days, often, enough to where it is a pattern in my life. I spend 5 minutes in the morning in quiet time, and that's all I spend. I can't spend no more than that. I know guys that do 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes. They meditate for an hour. I'm good for 5 minutes. I set a timer. You know why? Because after 3 minutes, I think it's been 5 minutes already. Right? Right? So I set a timer to make sure I do all 5. Right? Then I sit quietly and I breathe and I think about God. And sometimes I think about the St. Francis prayer. And sometimes I think about I am the place. And sometimes I breathe in and out. I got this thing that I do. I breathe Sheldon out, God in. Sheldon out, God in. And I think about the blessings in my life, and I think about what God's done for me, and I ask Him to remove the selfishness, dishonesty, and the self-pity from me so I can go about my day and have a good, fun-filled day and try to be helpful. Try to bring light where there's darkness, hope where there's despair. Try to bring joy where there is sadness, honesty where there is truth. And I try to do that. And I fail. a lot. And I heard this prayer one time, and I said this from a podium one time, and this beautiful lady sent me the actual prayer, and I'm feeling like a schmuck now because I should have memorized it because now I have it, right? And I could have shared it with you, and I haven't. But it's along the lines of, all right, and that's how I live my life. It's kind of like this. It's along the lines of, I don't know what pleases you, God. And I got to tell you that if you know people that know what God likes, stay away from those people. They'll have you drinking Kool-Aid pretty soon. I don't know what you like, God. I don't know how to please you. But I believe my trying to please you pleases you. And that's how I try to live my life. I believe that my trying to please God pleases God. I got one quick story for you. I'm going to sit down and thank you for my life. This goes back about 12, 13 years ago. 12, 13 years ago, I'm newly married to my wife, and we lived in a nice area in Las Vegas. We lived in the Summerlin area, and it was Christmas time. She asked me to go to the store, and I said I would. After all, it was Christmas, right? So I go to the store for her, and I'm in line to check out, and there's this lady in a cart in front of me, and she's beautiful. She's got a makeup on, and her hair's nice, and she's wearing fancy clothes or sparkly jewelry. She's got a little Christmas thing, a little tree on her lapel, and the Christmas music's playing, and she's got a kid in the carriage, and her kid looks all, right? It's just this cool little deal, right? And we get closer to pay, and the candy rack is there. And the kid says to his mom, can I have some candy? And Mom says, no, honey, you don't need no candy. When we get home, we'll get you an apple. The kid went, what? I don't want an apple. I want some candy. No, honey, you've already had some candy. We get home, we'll get you a healthy snack. I don't want an apple. I don't want a healthy snack. I want some candy. I want chocolate. Give me some chocolate. I want some chocolate. The kid just goes nuts, right? This poor woman gets restless, irritable, and discontent, right? She's snapping at the woman behind the counter. Would you hurry up, give me my change? And she turns into this. I'm thinking, oh my God, that's me in my head. I'm minding my own business when I'm new, and my head goes, hey, let's get a beer. And I think, no, we're not going to have a beer. Ooh, after this, we'll go to a meeting. I don't want a meeting. I want a beer. I know. Let's call our sponsor. He's not my sponsor. He's your sponsor, and I hate him. I want a beer, I want a beer, I want a beer, I want a beer. Get me a beer. I want a beer. Beer. And this is all going on in the inside, and I wonder why I'm restless, irritable, and discontent. I'm snapping at everybody. No, I'm not going to drink. I'm going to drink. And I'm nuts, right? I'm completely insane, and nobody knows why, right? No, what happened to Sheldon? He was singing Christmas carols a minute ago. What happened, right? The big show's in here. I got a 10-year-old son, light of my life. 10-year-old son. Back when he was like 3 years old, he'd have tantrums. I used to get worried. I'd tell my sponsor, I'd go, my son is acting like an alcoholic. My sponsor would say, no, he isn't. He's 3. Your alcoholic friends act like 3-year-olds. I get it, right? But he'd start having a tantrum, kicking his legs on the floor. And we would put a DVD or a tape back then in the player, and the big purple dinosaur, right? I love you, Kid would go, woof. Right, those with kids know what I'm talking about, right? You put the DVD, just whoo, right? Now, I do not want to compare Alcoholics Anonymous to Barney. But if you will go to enough meetings, and you will help enough new people, and you will not come to Alcoholics Anonymous to see what you can get, because all we have is alcoholism, and you probably have enough already. But you will come here to see what you can give. You'll become a giver in Alcoholics Anonymous, and you'll work the steps, and you'll do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and get actively involved in 10, 11, and you'll be a 12-step guy or gal. And you'll do AA as if your life depends on it, and you'll grab the life preserver. Then you will be like the kid that no longer has the tantrum. You'll be able to live happily in your life, and when your head says, let's have a beer, as it may from time to time, you will recoil from it as you would a hot flame. And that will be the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I will end the only way that I know. I will tell you that I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for my active life in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I love you. Thank you for my life.